Hi, and welcome everybody to another edition of the Winner Circle Sports Betting Podcast. My name is Ross Benjamin of rbwins.com. I'm joined starting today, every Wednesday morning. We're going to be talking to Jesse Schul of jesseshul.com, also of sportsmemo.com, also of picksandparleys.net, and the list goes on and on, just like myself. We're on several sites, folks, but we prefer you visit us at our own sites, and that's jesseshul.com and rbwins.com. Jesse, it's a pleasure. It's time to talk college basketball. I know you've been looking forward to this for quite a while, so have I. And just the beginning of a series of college basketball free picks from the man they call the Iceman, Jesse Schul. How are you, my friend?
Well, Ross, it's always great to be on with you. And right now is the perfect time to start talking about college basketball because we're starting to find out who's who, the tail end of non-conference play.
Yeah.
Once we get into conference play, we should have a much better grasp on what's going on.
What's your philosophy in college basketball handicapping? If I was a member of the press and I asked you what's one facet you may pay attention to a little more than the other when it comes to you sitting down and actually handicapping games in college basketball, is there one that sticks out to you above the other, or are there several that you look at on an equal basis?
Well, Ross, I think everybody looks at strength of schedule.
Yep.
But I don't think everybody puts an adequate emphasis on strength of schedule. And, for example, teams like Gonzaga playing in the West Coast Conference have been notoriously highly ranked, even when, they don't play a lot of top 25 teams throughout the season. So I really put an emphasis on strength of schedule, perhaps more than others do.
Yeah, strength of schedule is a key element for me, especially at this time of year, because you're getting a lot of teams that are getting off the fast starts, and it's because they're playing cream puffs, so entering how many times have we seen a team go 10-1 or 11-0 in non-conference play, and then they're below 500, especially in power conferences, and then they go below 500 on the year in conference play. So yeah, strength of schedule is a key element to me as well. I agree with that, Jesse. All right, we got two games we're going to be talking about today. You're going to cover the UConn at Florida game. That game will be on ESPN at 9 p.m. Eastern time. While I'll be looking at the SMU and Arizona State game that will be played at SMU. That game goes at 9 o'clock, and it's on ESPNU. So if you guys are the type that wants to watch what you're betting on, this is a perfect scenario. Before we get to that, Jesse, tell the folks exactly how you've been doing of late, what you may have coming up, and anything that you want to promote in terms of jesseshul.com.
Well, the World Cup is in full swing, and I've been lighting it up with my World Cup picks, hitting 70% in the tournament so far. My biggest game of the tournament is coming up in a couple days in the quarterfinals. Big World Cup game of the year. You're not going to want to miss that. Get that at jesseshul.com. Of course, number one at NFL with sportsmemo.com. Big winning season with football, college and pros. I've said that on this show every week. It's still true.
Yeah, 27 handicappers at sportsmemo.com. High caliber handicappers at that. I mean, Sports Memo is the same company, is owned by Wager Talk, so it's not like these guys don't do their jobs well. Jesse's number one in the NFL. I'm number 3. So out of 27 guys, so you're talking about some pretty good NFL handicappers. And again, you could find us at sportsmemo.com or rbwins.com or jesseshul.com. Myself, I already alluded to the fact, number 3 in the NFL, coming off a 4-2 week last week. Over the last 8 days, I'm 20-10 in all sports. After starting 1-4 in college basketball, I've gone 17-8 with my last 25 college basketball picks, which gets me which is a 68% run and gets me up to 60% on the year right now. The NBA, 58%. Since April 1st of this year, I'm 58% in the NBA, right up there as well. What am I missing? I'm not missing anything. So rbwins.com or sportsmemo.com. jesseshul.com or sportsmemo.com is where you could find us. Jesse, all right, let's get to the meat and potatoes, my man. Everybody's on the edge of their seat. They want to know who you like in the game between UConn and Florida.
All right, Ross. Well, we already touched on strength of schedule, and you mentioned that some of these teams rattle off impressive undefeated runs, and then they falter later on when they face tougher opponents. So, we got UConn as the road favorite here, minus 4.5 points. They're 9-0. They're 9-0 against the spread. They've won all their games by double digits. So can we find some reason to step in front of this UConn team? This is it's going to be their first road game. That's one reason. But, do we think they can win on the road? And who are they playing? They're playing a Florida team that is, they weren't great last year, Florida, and they're only 6-3 so far this year. They've already got a home loss to Florida Atlantic. They lost to Xavier and West Virginia. That lost against West Virginia came by 29 points at a neutral site. And UConn, they finished as a ranked team last year, 2 games out of first in the Big East. They didn't go that deep into the tournament, but they come back off a big year. They did lose their leading scorer, RJ Cole, to graduation, but they bring back their second leading scorer, Adama Sanogo, who is a 6'9", 245-pound monster, and he is averaging 19 points per game, leading them in scoring. They also brought in a senior transfer, Tristan Newton, from ECU. He averaged 17 points per game last year. Those numbers are down a bit as a complementary piece here for UConn in a tougher league, playing tougher games. Certainly, UConn looks like they're equipped to be even better than they were a year ago. And the Gators, man, they were 2-7 against ranked teams last year, straight up. A lot of those losses were one-sided. If you look at their ATS trends, they're just 2-12 against the spread in their last 14 games versus teams with a winning record. As much as I like to bet home dogs, this doesn't look like the spot for the Gators. I don't think they're getting enough points. I think this is too tough an opponent for them. So I'm going to go with UConn.
Yeah, I agree with you. If you look at the fact that Florida getting 4.5 at home a few years ago, or over the last decade, that would have been a rarity, and especially in a non-conference game to boot. It's a Florida program that's still relevant, but not the powerhouse they once were. And you'd be hard-pressed to find a couple teams like Purdue and UConn that are playing better basketball in all the country right now. I think UConn right now, don't sleep on this team. This is a team I think is going to be a legitimate national title contender before it's all said and done. They're running through their non-conference schedule with relative ease, and I think that they'll be, if not the top team in the American, they'll be one of the top. So in any event, let me get to my game, which is SMU in Arizona. That game will be played in Dallas, Texas, at the campus of SMU. This game, ESPNU, 9:00 Eastern. Arizona State right now, I'm seeing as a 5-point favorite, and SMU off to a terrible 3-6 start to the season, and that has been exemplified even more so after they suffered an embarrassing 67-66 home loss to Jackson State as an 11-point favorite in their last time out. Not only did they lose that game outright as a double-digit favorite on their home floor, they were out-rebounded by Jackson State by 19 rebounds, and that's an enormous amount. And when you're talking about a team that plays in a high-profile conference like SMU does, and they're playing the Jackson States of the world, that's an alarming statistic when I look at it, because more times than not, these teams from the bigger conferences against the smaller schools dominate on the glass, and certainly that was the opposite in that particular matchup. Arizona State's off to an 8-1 start. They were upset early in the year by Texas Southern. However, over their last 6 games, Bobby Hurley's club has got it going, 6-0 straight up and 5-1 against the spread. This is an excellent defensive team from Arizona State. They lack a little bit on the offensive end, but defensively, this team shuts down opponents. Their last 7 games, they've held their opponents to less than 40% shooting. Their last 6, they've held their opponents to 64 points or fewer. And when you look at KenPom, right now, Arizona State is number 16 out of 363 Division I teams in defensive efficiency. And that's a stat and a site, KenPom, that you could put a lot of stock in when you're evaluating analytics when it comes to sports handicapping, or specifically so college basketball handicapping. I just told you how good Arizona State is, number 16 in defensive efficiency, according to KenPom. SMU, on the other hand, number 238 in offensive efficiency. So not a very good matchup for SMU. They're not playing very well right now. I very seldom like to lay points on the road unless something jumps out at me, and this is an example of such. I'm going to go with the Arizona State Wildcats minus the 5 over the SMU Mustangs on Wednesday night. And Jesse Schul, he likes the UConn Huskies minus 4.5 on the road over the Florida Gators. Jesse, any final words?
Yeah, just like I said, stay tuned for more World Cup picks. Don't sleep on the World Cup. I know not everybody likes soccer, but there's money to be made.
Yeah. Much to my chagrin, you had the Netherlands against the U.S. Good for you. Smart call on your part. Anyway, Jesse will be back with us on Friday. We'll be talking more college basketball, a couple of real good matchups in college basketball on Friday. And I believe Jesse's going to be covering the Alabama and Houston game. Houston, number 1 in the country. Alabama off to a terrific start as well. And I'll be covering another game. And I'm sorry, folks, but my memory escapes me on which game that is. I do so many videos. And like Jesse, that you can't remember everything every time, every week. In any event, until the next time, for Jesse Schul and Ross Benjamin, we like to wish each and every one of you all the very best. Folks, don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. It's absolutely free. And give us a like at the end of the video. Until the next time, take care, folks.